So the Inspired by Her event tonight is in celebration of International Women's Day. We've had people submitting photos of women that inspire them. We've had a photo exhibition, and then we've also had a panel discussion about the Sustainable Development Goal of gender and how we can work towards achieving gender equality.
I'm tired of living in a world where women and girls live in fear on a daily basis from violence and abuse. I'm angry that women and girls can be bought and sold like a commodity. I'm angry that girls are missing out on their education through fear of being raped on their way to school, or actually being raped within the institution itself, or because social norms and gendered roles take precedent over their right to an education. I'm also angry that we still live in a world where women and a woman's right to choose is questioned, and that women and girls still on a daily basis do not have full agency over their own bodies. For these and many more reasons, which I can't cover in 10 minutes, I'm angry, and that's why I do what I do.
Women form the majority of the world's poorest people, and the number of women living in rural poverty has actually increased by 50% since 1975. Women work 2/3 of the world's working hours, produce half of the world's food, yet they only earn 10% of the world's income, and they own less than 1% of the world's property, which is staggering.
And I guess the question to ask is, why is care important, particularly for women's economic empowerment and with the Sustainable Development Goal? It's the fact that usually a high proportion of care is done by women, which means that from a young age, girls are less likely to be able to go to school because they're more likely to be able to do domestic tasks in the home. Or women are probably less likely also to engage in paid work because, again, less likely to get an education.
A really positive thing, I think, is online activism, and how technology and communication is really crucial to the feminist movement, especially for marginalised voices, as it raises those people up. And that's something that we can continue to promote and use as a platform. And I think it's really crucial that we actively listen, educate ourselves, and maybe take a step back when we need to be a better ally as well.
We make films, and we show our films in very remote areas on our portable solar-powered media players. Visual for me is a way to get a message to areas with very, very high illiteracy rates.
Well, let's get involved. It is no longer sufficient for us to say, oh my goodness, well, politicians are corrupt, or politicians are liars. Well, if that's the case, let's do it ourselves. Let's empower ourselves to bring a good challenge, to say, no, we are here as a new generation of politicians like yourselves are bringing and participating because of the public good, because of the collective good. And in that way, we will be able to change many of the legislations and many of the stereotypes that the world still uphold with regards to the relation between men and women.
Christine grew up in Kenya, and in her community, FGM was quite widespread. Her father was a forward-thinking man, and he recognized his girls' rights, and he didn't want them to be cut. He stood up against the tradition and didn't cut his girl, for which he had to pay with his life, because he was murdered by the community who didn't accept alternative way of thinking. But today, Christine is aged 23, and she's a campaigner on FGM. She campaigns in her own community and in neighboring communities, and I had the chance to speak to her about her work, and I asked her, because I always saw this constant smile on her face, and I wondered, why do you smile? Like, what do you experience in your daily life? And I asked her, what do you enjoy about your work? And her smile even grew bigger, and she told me, there's a special moment when I enter the room and I have the opportunity to tell these girls that they have rights. To make them aware of their rights and to tell them, you can achieve something. And I try to inspire them to dream, and I try to show them, you can achieve those dreams because you have the right to it. And then when I tell them that I haven't been cut, but that I went to school and finished school, and that I went to university and finished university, by the end, they sometimes come to me and say, I'm inspired by you. You're my role model, and that's what makes me proud.